needing to go to the bathroom and then... Oh wait, you can see the inside? That's crazy. Oh my god, didn't know there was... Okay. Should've just been like this.
Morning!
That's crazy though. Oh shit! What the hell? Then they could jump out of there without flying.
Shock dart.
I hate it when it switches to outlaw when I don't want it.
The nightmare's turn.
Thanks. How did I even survive that? Can we clip that, please? Yo, Malios! Welcome in, welcome in! Ray!
Point. Now might be a good time to stop them.
I don't like that.
Good timing.
Gotta kill like that, though.
Stop that vehicle.
Ooh. I was on fire there for a second.
Invisible.
The heck?
Wow.
Wasn't there like a smoke between the two of you?
No.
Are you cheating?
I saw the Sage Guild.
Guys, can we clip that? Can we clip that?
Nothing that was.
You are a good guy.
No,
Oh,
you.
I get a kill!
Let's go! Good job, good job. How did you do that?
Come on, we are gonna get through on this round.
on 0.
Can you teach me?
I'm ready.
Yeah, what you do is you press left and you pray to all the gods you know.
Left. Oh crap.
Not ready yet.
I pressed left, but it
I
didn't
messed
work.
up the ball. I messed up the ball. I messed up.
There you go.
Bro, ninja defuse, ninja defuse. Stick it, fuck it, man, fuck it.
LOL!
No way!
LOL! And the kill? No freaking way.
That all fucked them up.
No way. That worked.
Spike down B. 30 seconds left.
I have the spike. Shock dart.
I hate it when it switches to outlaw when I don't want it.
The nightmare's turn in our favor.
Thanks.
Really slow though.
No! Nobody was supposed to be mid. Nice. Nice, Cloudy. Huh?
Spike down B. One enemy remaining.
You. Good stuffies! Good stuffings! Wait, what? No way!
Oh my god.
No way! I hit him with a knife. Oh shit. Turret. Rude. Oh. It looks so cool. You don't know how hurting this is. Holy! Get it to this one. You got one problem.
Shock dart.
One enemy
Down.
remaining.
My ult is ready.
Fucking dog shit lineups, bro.
Thanks. That he couldn't win round though.
All good. We take next, we take next.
I'll die. U-turn. Don't go. There's death. But I'm still gonna go on though. What's gonna be there? What's gonna be there? Don't walk on further. As an octopus. There is death down there. Watch out. Nah, they're kidding. Okay, I did not of everything I did. Oh, money.
Cheeky little roulette.
If you like, I only main Sova, so if you want me to perform really bad,
Oh shit.
then we can risk it, but it's not on me then, you know?
Nah, I'm trying to.
Shock dart. My ult is
One
ready.
enemy remaining.
Deploying drone.
Flawless.
Nice.
Why does Wele have money?
Because waylaying.
Wele suck my book.
Revealing area.
Wele suck my food.
Admit.
Heaven.
What?
Nobody here.
No! Woo! Let's go. Double kill. Again. Aw, man. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And it is the 10th of May, 2026, and it's 22:01 on the clock here in the Netherlands. And I am over here. Hello. Oh, we got 3 votes on the poll. Good job, guys. 2 for Valo, 1 for Rivals. Hope you guys are doing amazing. Tell me a little bit about your weekend, and to all mothers today, happy Mother's Day from the Netherlands. Yeah, because in some countries they don't have Mother's Day today. Well, you know what? Let's go. Let's switch it up. Yeah, how are you guys doing? Why is the lighting off today? A bit different, isn't it? Feels like it is. I don't know what happened. What changed? I don't think anything changed up. Maybe it's just the color of my clothes that are just darker. And everything darker as well. I don't know. Oh, maybe it's just the screen, by the way. We have no first, seconds, or third yet, so make sure to claim them if you are here. In the meantime, we're going to be either starting up a Valorant or Rivals. I know, yeah, we're still waiting. We got like another half a minute. I'm going to launch Valo because we need 2 more votes for Rivals, so the chance of 2 people just picking Rivals or 3 people picking Fortnite out of nowhere is lower. So I'm gonna be prepared for if we're gonna go to Valo. And if we did, let me just change the title. Oh, that messed up. Chat decided Valorant. There it is. 2 votes for Valorant. Thank you guys for voting so quickly. Appreciate it. Y'all decided how this stream is gonna be looking like. Well, thank you so much for that. Starting up in the meantime. And let me know how your weekend was. You anything? Did you buy anything for your mother or create something for your mother? Anything? Let me know. This weekend, both days, we were at both our mothers. Yeah, it was a busy weekend, but it was fun. It was fun. There you go. We got in game. We got into the game. Game. Let's see if we can get a list into the. Just invite Liz. Where's she at? There she's it. There she's it. Invite to the party. What do we got in store? We got the Xeno Hunter knife. Yikes. Neptune Vandal. Neptunes. Inventory. Ares and the Recon Phantom. Poopy weapons. I don't like
Boos.
real things. Discords?
Ja, ik kan niet joinen.
Ah, dan drink ik je wel even. Ik dacht als ik je een invite stuur, dan moet dat wel lukken. Maar blijkbaar doet hij dat dan toch niet. Oké, nou nu wordt iedereen je op stream in ieder geval.
Oh.
Oh.
Boos.
Boos waarom?
Nou, kijk maar.
View carrière, min 17. Ja. Waarom heb jij alleen maar 1 goud extra erbij en zilvers en brons en dan de andere team goud en plat?
Ja, Valorant.
Oké, ja, nee, ik snap je frustratie. I snap your frustration, yes. Let's change it up. Oké?
Wacht.
Oh.
Wacht. Ja.
Ja? Ik heb alles blauw. Wait, I want to change something. Wait, I'm just changing these colors up. Because this one fits better to my melee.
Ik heb de Stone Diffuser aangezet, hè. Ik ruik
Nice.
stenen.
Stenen. Hier stenen.
Ik ruik nog meer stenen. En
She's saying
lavendel.
she's saying she smells stones now, friends. She's saying. Smelling stones, yes.
En lavendel.
Lavender. Lavender.
En hout.
And wood. So it smells like you're outside.
Yes.
Okay, je mag kiezen. You can pick raspberry vanilla or tiramisu vanilla.
Waar kies ik uit?
Oreo.
Oh. Tiramisu. De alcohol in de system krijgen.
But there is no alcohol.
Maakt niet uit. Dan denk je maar dat
It's all in the
alcohol is.
brain. It's all in the brain.
Wanneer je als kind een slokje krijgt.
Good old
Oh,
times.
ben je trots op mij?
Oh, beginnen.
Match found.
Waarop?
Ik heb voor de eerste keer mijn hele leven 3 flessen water opgedronken.
Van een halve liter?
Ik weet niet hoeveel liter.
Wherever they run, I will
Ik
find
laat je even een foto
Hallo.
zien.
Dan heel trots.
Want ik zeg altijd, eeuw, water.
I like. I like this one.
Zo'n fles. Er zit komkommer in, dus ik smaak alleen maar komkommer.
Heel.
Maar waarom eeuw?
Heel.
Goed voor je. Komkommer.
Heel. Ja, vers wel, maar in water heel.
Het is water.
Ja, maar ik... Komkommer los, without water, dat is kut. Maar... Komkommer, zeg maar... Nee. In water niet. Niet voor mij.
Maar ben je nu trots op mij?
Goed
Kijk
bezig.
maar eens een keer naar de foto.
Ja, ik zit naar die foto te kijken.
Ja. Ik drink nooit water.
Goed bezig, goed bezig. Houd vol. Nu komt de zomer eraan, maar het is alleen maar makkelijker om het vol te houden. Goed bezig.
Of ik
Kan
heb
ik
hem
je
al
wel
4 keer
worden?
gevuld of zo vandaag. Ik weet niet meer.
Nou, nog 4 keer en dan...
Ik heb wel echt heel vaak gepist hoor. Oh.
Logisch. Oké, 6 seconds. Wait. Oh, what was it say?
Nee, ik ben geen Sage gegaan.
Oh.
Ik dacht dat het een andere map was.
Guys, we're back on Ascent and I freaking love it.
If you die today, I will remember you forever. It has been an honor. Hey, guys.
Hey, what up, man? What up, man?
Hey, what up, man?
Hey, what up?
What's up, man? Bro.
What's up?
Oh, bro, what's going on, man?
I'm a man too.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
What's up, man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you been screaming a lot today? What's been going on? Yeah.
Yay!
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 I mean, yay.
Yeah.
You hear that I'm a man.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Revealing area.
Reloading. Enemy spotted. A.
There they are.
Hello.
Enemy spotted. A.
Out of charges.
Smoke straight.
Shock dart.
Reloading.
Reloading.
Reyna has a flash.
Excuse me. Our spike down.
Spike down A.
I have the spike.
Reloading.
Let's rotate.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Reloading.
Wait, I have spike.
That's mean. Hij is gemeen.
Wat?
Hij noemt me classic lelijk.
Had hij niet over de andere? Oh nee, van jou.
Ja.
I'm going back, eh?
Seconds left.
Spike planted. Revealing area. Right here.
Last player standing.
Defeated.
One enemy remaining.
Bro!
Paint? Check. Charges? Check. Brakes? Nowhere in sight.
Nice.
Raise your mean.
Me? Why?
You called my classic ugly.
Yeah, look at it.
It's ugly.
It's not weapon shaped. It's fuck shaped.
It doesn't need to be weapon shaped.
It's a weapon.
Huh?
It's not.
Spike down A.
Scanning ahead. Right here.
Come on.
Spike down A.
Phoenix mid. Lol. Window.
Player standing.
Damn it.
Nancy broski. Anti-man, yeah.
Let us see what they have
Hey, waarom
this time.
verliezen we 2 keer achter elkaar? Oh, ik had hem niet moeten kopen. Oeps.
Race gaat achter de spike aan. Heel jee.
Hello.
Hallo.
Hello.
Hallo.
Scanning ahead.
There.
Smoke's resonating.
Satchel out.
Boathouse, Killjoy.
16. Killjoy. Ik heb de 116 gedaan.
One less.
Spike down B. You should run. Last player
One dead.
standing.
Hel.
Je hebt het gezegd.
Wat?
My double is probably
Dat je het
doing
gezegd
some
had.
group
Wat?
huddle no one asked for.
Achter.
Boathouse, achter. Ja, klopt. Ja, maar hij zag het uiteindelijk wel, maar hielp niet.
Nee, flank. Dat hij achter ons zat.
Ja.
We set the tempo, not them.
Revealing area. Take flight.
Morning!
Enemy mark.
I dropped the spike.
I have the spike.
Satchel out.
Smoke's up.
Reloading.
Spike planted. Right here.
Cussing!
114, Killjoy's on site. Nice.
Last player
Oh
standing.
nee.
Goed job. Oh nee.
Waarom moet ik alleen overblijven? Dan stress ik.
Omdat iedereen dood. Kai! Hallo. Race sabotage report?
Anyone have any splints? I may have jammed my fingers. Multiple fingers.
Nee, ze gaan toch niet met. Look at the combo.
In we go.
En gachen.
Ow. Ow.
Morning!
Fire in the hole!
What the?
Spike down
Waarom
A.
ik? Waarom me? I didn't show myself nothing. Bro, why did he shoot me?
Get healing!
Oh, I missed it.
Spike planted.
One enemy
I am
remaining.
so sorry.
I'm
Listen to this!
Boots.
Die, Mogacy.
Nice.
Good job. Schiet het, schiet het, schiet het, schiet het, schiet het, schiet het, schiet het. Ja.
Yippie.
Oh, sorry. Ik was aan het drinken.
Geen zorgen. Weet ik veel.
Ik hoorde ineens schiet, 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 schiet,
Schiet, schiet, schiet. Op naar de... Hey, 125 stream streak. Let's go! Thank you so much, bro. Dankjewel. 130 binnenkort? Sowieso. Sowieso. Thanks, man.
Oh, ik ruik helemaal naar rituals vandaag.
Rituals, rituals. Auw! Op on mid.
Gun here.
My hands are cold.
Reloading.
reloading.
Trust.
Still inside.
Let me put on this orange bright thing.
64 race.
The hell?
Last player standing. Spike down B.
Their lives are so
Crazy lurks. What the?
will give them to me.
Sir? Also,
Just gonna...
what gun buddy did you talk about earlier?
Oh my god, bro!
Are you kidding me?
Which gun?
You said gun buddy, but I thought
No,
it,
you just... I like the Sova buddy, you know? Because
Oh, yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the
yeah.
Sova main.
it's amazing, right?
Can you get it from the SSR shop?
It was in the regular shop.
Oh? In a bundle?
Yeah.
Enemy
Fuck.
spotted. A.
Grenade!
Reloading.
Reloading.
Scanning ahead.
Misschien kan ik ze beten.
Oh, come on.
Last player standing.
Oh nee, dat was niet wat ik bedoelde.
Spike
Oh
down
nee.
A.
Je hebt wel.
I have the spike.
Eentje rechts.
30 seconds left.
Rechts van je. Rechts van je.
Ik weet mijn links en rechts niet.
Oh, vergat ik. Dat vergat ik.
Power? I got this.
Je keek naar links. Er ging ook geen belletje rinkelen bij dat je dacht van, hè?
Ik denk dat we ze helemaal gek aan het maken waren.
Winner, you have Spike. You want to come with the team?
This motherfucker named Sova said right. I don't know my lefts and rights.
Yeah.
Scanning ahead.
No, I'm sorry. It will work, trust.
Die.
Spike down A.
It did not work. Hey, it did.
One enemy remaining.
Hey, Odin.
Where are they?
Enemy spotted.
3.
Right here.
Spike planted. Smoke's up.
Nice.
Never gonna happen.
Nice.
I sneaked for nothing.
Trust each other. That's all.
Ze hadden Odin.
I mean, I did get the Phoenix, but...
Ze hadden Odin van de...
Odin?
Odin,
Need a
kijk.
drop.
Right here.
Odin. Let's go B. Let's go B.
Need a drop.
Let me see if my darts towards A still works. Faking A.
Cutting their vision.
Revealing
Joke's
area.
over! You're dead!
Almost. Oh, wow.
Spike down B.
Hello? There's a phantom on my body.
Here's a heal.
Rainy, you need a phantom, bro? Cubby. Oh my god, wat doet hij?
Pairing up.
Holy loud feet.
Smoke's resonating.
Killjoy isn't near.
Planted.
Smoke's
X.
resonating.
Oh.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Three's My ult's ready.
Nice! Oh!
That's why you never quit.
Okay. I know what we're doing.
Watch them run when lit by my sonar. That's
And
when
he,
we
they
strike.
started the Odin, so... You know...
We gotta go 2 through mid if we want to go A.
No backing out now.
Scanning ahead. Deploying drone. Right here. Out of charges.
Smoke's up.
Oh, come on, bro!
You should run.
Shoot the ult. Shoot the ult.
Ik weet niet waar die is. Oh, daar.
Ja, maar Arena, shoot! Arena! What the hell are you doing?
One enemy remaining.
Why didn't you just shoot the freaking ult?
Kast. Nu komt het.
Good job. What was he doing?
They demand
I
a
don't
fight.
know.
I'm so confused. What? I was so confused what happened there, bro.
Oh, Rena is level 28. Misschien nieuw.
Ja, kan wel goed schieten.
Misschien dom. Want wij zijn ook soms dom in dit spel.
Oh, dommer.
Zoals ik met mijn links en rechts.
Enemy A.
Revealing area.
Help.
Ja.
Oh, kappen nou.
Take flight.
Ja, ik ben dood. Oh! Thanks for the healing, yo.
Graag gedaan.
On the left.
Thanks.
Out of charge.
Riri, what's up? Die?
One enemy remaining.
Er zit nog een mooie Odin op mijn lichaam.
Waar sta je? En waar ben je dood gegaan?
Achter jou.
Huh?
Nee, niet daar. Hier op site achter jou. Hier, hoekie.
Niet achter mij.
Hide, guys, hide.
Be at rest.
Nice.
Thanks.
Last round in the half.
Buy as many guns you can.
Jee. Ga maar vooruit naar Odin.
Oh ja, nou ja, money enough.
Heel veel
Nou, mag ik die jou trouwens?
Gone here.
Oh, deze op mijn
Odin.
mijn Odin.
Hey Odin, dank je.
Nee,
Riri.
kom
Oh. Oké. Blue anyways,
helemaal
purple is fine.
upsetting.
Weer.
Ja.
How much going on? Just finished dinner? Nice.
On spot, someone's on spot.
Shot down.
Okay.
In the box. Nice.
One enemy remaining.
Ik heb een klein gevoel dat hij hier is. Ja, was hij daar?
Ja.
Yay.
Crazy ult.
Sides.
Weapon choice, it is so personal, no? You pick a gun, it tells me who you are.
Finished dinner. How was dinner? What did you have?
Oh, sorry. Ik mag daar niet om lachen wat hij in de chat zei.
Can have? Oh, andere chat, oké.
Ja, de Valorant chat.
Didn't see that.
Protect our homeland.
Oh, got no time, got no time. Didn't even buy anything.
Revealing area.
Today?
Not yet.
Smoky, smoky.
No steps here. Yeah, many steps here. Please come, please help.
No steps, many steps. Wat is het een of het ander?
Many steps.
Oh no, they're doing it.
No, don't let him do it. The hell?
One enemy remaining.
Met 10 HP.
Flawless.
Okay.
Now that was a work of art.
Reloaded.
And the last thing they'll see before they die. Lucky them.
Oké, ik ga nog één keer even saven. Even een shot kopen.
What is saven?
Ja, maar daarna wil ik Odin kopen.
Oh, operator?
Scanning ahead.
It's B.
Yep, B. Big B. BBO.
Right.
Wow, 30 on Killjoy en Mix.
Planting.
Kijken.
Spike planted.
Oh, kom op.
Last player standing.
Holy.
They want to dance? Ha! I'll leave.
Me no likey. Me no likey, me no likey. Me no likey, me no likey. Ja hoor. Check the race.
Mix, go mid. If we call out the enemy, you smoke, okay, brother?
Okay, whoa, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Don't
brother.
need to be mad. Dat klonk zo agressief.
Helemaal niet. Nee, nee, nee. Dat is van misopvatting van jou. Wat heel vriendelijk bedoeld.
Scanning ahead.
Zeker.
B.
Alsof ik niet weet hoe ik een smoke moet spelen. Is wel een beetje
Hij
crazy.
vraagt het gewoon. Hij stelt het voor. Chill, chill,
Raise
chill.
low, Gekko low.
Ik kan niet doen zelf het spel. Ik zit al 6 uur in dit spel. Ja.
Why?
Out of charges.
Ik probeer er cool bij te komen.
They might have an Odin now.
Spike planted.
Oh,
Don't know who gave it to them.
Interesting.
Why did I buy this and not an Odin?
Joke's over! You're dead!
Ik heb een fan.
Last player standing.
Oh my god, how did he know?
He's in the back.
Left. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Wat is die race en rank? Query.
Welke race?
Say yes.
Onze of die van de enemy?
Enemy.
Silver 2.
Level?
Sound is everything on the battlefield. So
233.
listen for noises. You'll hear those jerks before you see them.
Peak?
Sorry, I wanted to save the Odin. Ja, maar die kan ik nog niet zien nu. Ja, even.
Oh my god.
Kan ik niet zien, profiel. Oh, plat 3. Hij is plat 3.
Okay. Noticed.
Revealing area. Right here.
Really?
Een beetje actief naar mensen aan het doen vandaag.
Nuggets.
One was in mid. Oh, many steps on A. They're A, they're A, they're A.
I got one down. Was planten.
Spike planted.
Oh my god.
Ja, dat hoorde ik ook echt nog maar net.
I don't think so.
One enemy remaining.
Shock dart.
Bro?
I'm sorry, but this is shit.
Revealing area.
Where was she? Oh, here.
She
She ran past
walked
me.
next to you.
Yeah.
She did.
I went outside of the smoke, she went into the smoke. It was crazy.
Xeronauts first.
Ray wist waar je was. Je liep en dropte de wapen voor de Odin. Was ik dat? Dropte ik een wapen? Oh ja. Klopt, klopt. Miss Crunch, how you doing? Is wel waar.
Foei panda.
Oei. Huh? Huh? Wat wil je? Wat?
Scanning ahead.
One C on A. One shot.
Smoke's
Please.
resonating.
Yeah, more on A.
Don't trust it.
Bij jou?
Right here.
Ray's on B.
30 seconds left.
Scanning ahead.
Oh, they're on A.
Spike planted.
Bro.
That's crazy, man.
One enemy remaining.
Shot down.
Grenade!
Nice.
I think he's dead.
Nah, we need to make sure.
Okay.
Stay taut as a bowstring. The fight demands it.
We moeten het wel zeker weten, hè?
Ja, fair.
Oh, heb je die TikTok niet gezien die ik je heb laten zien over die Fate?
Ja, he was crazy.
Het kon net zo
Bijkom-
gestart worden.
Ja, liever niet. Wel goed bijkomen van werk. Ik hoop dat het wel een goede werkdag was dan. Kan niet eens praten, man. Nog moederdag gevierd iemand? Someone celebrated Mother's Day by any chance?
Don't rotate.
Nee.
Ik ben gisteren volledig uitgescholden op werk.
Dat was niet zo
2 keer.
tof. Klanten?
Alleen omdat ik tegen die vrouw zei doei.
Wauw.
Entering B.
Phoenix still spawn, ja. Phoenix gonna... Oké.
Spike down B.
Revealing area.
One enemy remaining. 30 seconds left.
Nice. 38 uur gewerkt in 2 dagen. Why?
Yo, who has an Odin skin?
Battle Pass? Does that work?
It's a cutesy wootsy.
Aww.
I love the sound. I'm straight.
So?
You sure about it?
Whoa!
Sorry, love you.
Shock dart.
Oh.
Shock dart.
Oh!
Oei.
Scanning ahead.
I just saw one person.
A lot of them.
You should run. Spike down B. Last player
Oh my god,
standing.
there was another one on me.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
Jeetje.
Damn.
Oh, nice try.
No one saw that. That wall was... Someone placed the wall there. That wasn't there before.
They go Odin again. Nuh-uh.
Hey Jay. What up? How you doing, bro? Omdat hij niet echt een keuze had. Hey, er is altijd een keus. Er is altijd een keus. Consequenties zijn misschien wat anders, maar altijd een keus. Damn, 14 uur per dag is echt niet oké. Naar mijn idee, maar oké. Damn. Ik hoop dat je nu wat rust hebt. Jay, how you been, bro? Hoe gaat het met je?
Spike down mid.
Bro, the freaking timing. Raise on A. Nice.
Spike planted. One enemy remaining.
Zijn we daar zo? Nice. Hoezo topfrag? Wat gebeurt hier? Chamber? Chamber?
Yes, yes.
What were you trying to do?
I was just trying to kill everybody except myself.
Oh, okay. I thought, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, ik heb gewoon een KD van
Can you stop with me?
2.44.
Wee-oh!
No.
You carrying? I am
I
definitely
don't
carrying
like
from the
if
bottom.
you like it.
Ja, je carryt mij
I
met
am
taal.
confusing. I'm confused. Gaat goed.
carryt mij met
Nice.
taal.
I'm
Je
confused.
PC, maar je PC is gewoon gefixt.
Scanning ahead.
Lekker.
Found them.
I am the hunter!
Really?
Shock dart.
Crap.
Out of charges. Deploying drone.
Joke's over! You're dead!
Enemy B.
One enemy remaining.
Kom maar, ja.
Got her.
No more to oppose us.
Oh, ik heb er ook geraakt. Voor hoeveel? Daar ben ik eigenlijk wel benieuwd naar nu.
Match point.
63.
90. Nee, 89.
63.
98.
63. Oh, carrying from the bottom, bro. Ben je al gold? Bro. Ik speel dit spel niet genoeg. Echt, serieus. Ik speel zoveel andere spellen tegelijkertijd. En ik heb echt... Ik weet niet. Oh, koude handen vandaag? Vreselijk. Wacht even, ik lees zo, Crunch. Oh, shoot. Dat staat mijn dart.
There they are.
Oh, I mean... Definitely on purpose.
I think they're rotating.
2 people on A.
There's people on B as well, at least one.
In default, so hold sides, hold sides.
Oh yeah! Monster on the loose!
Okay.
Shock dart.
Listen to this!
One enemy remaining.
Oh my god, the slowest ever.
I messed up.
Oh, he will see.
30 seconds left.
I think he's dead.
Defenders.
GG's.
No, we
GG's.
gotta make sure he's dead. We gotta make sure he's dead. Oh, mijn KD is omhoog gegaan, hè?
Ik had het slechtste potje ooit. Ik had het slechtste potje ooit.
Plus 5 AR. Plus 26 gekregen.
Silver nog steeds? Ja. Ik was silver 3 en toen was ik 1 potje weg van gold. En die was ik een silver 2. Het sloeg er nergens op. Slaat er nergens op. Dit was eigenlijk echt een slecht potje. Dit was echt een slecht potje. Ribombi, please Ribombi. Ribombi. Ribambi, Ribambi. Nee,
Hoezo ben ik... Hoezo is een race match MVP?
betere hitscore, I guess.
Nee, dit is gewoon niet eerlijk.
Wat waren die ranks?
Allemaal zilver en unranked.
Oh. Interesting.
Another one.
Oh. Malu there, are you here? Hoi Malu, are you here? Ik geloof in je. Ik hoop het. Ik hoop het. Het is wel veel te leuk. Dit is ook echt, dit is echt de reden. Dit is echt de reden. Oh, you're here. You wanna play? You wanna join us? Hop in Discord. Hop in Discord. Join our VC, just any, and I'll drag you over. Or Kai maybe can, I don't know. Depends who's faster. Maar ik heb wel echt een Vendel met skin nodig. What Vendel should I take? This one's still blue. I'm on my blue arc, guys. I got the best melee in the game. Okay? So...
Match
I
found.
need it all blue. I'll make you Radiant Material, Panda. Need coaching, for real, for real. That game is nothing compared to what I usually play. I'm just saying.
Wherever they run, I will find them.
What are we gonna play? What are we gonna play?
I think we're gonna play Valorant on Breeze competitively.
Gonna play. What are we gonna play?
Hi guys.
What are we gonna play? Oh,
Oh, hi.
iemand is excited.
Those are a
Ja.
lot of eyes. Those are a lot of eyes.
Weet je wat dat betekent? Oh,
Oh.
ze vinden je leuk.
Ah. Oh, y'all got mics? Just one tap them, it's not that hard. Okay, okay, okay. Ah, let me just get rid of my Piccolo debuff thing, okay?
Hallo. Kijk of ze op mij gaan reageren.
Sowieso.
Nee. Ze haten me.
Waarom is het zo koud? Waarom is het zo koud?
Vraag hem niet aan mij.
Ja, het is koud.
Ik heb het snikheet hier in mijn kamer.
Maar ik heb wel een t-shirt aan, dus misschien ook wel eigen schot, maar toch. Alright, let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Sure.
Need a drop.
Please, report Panda.
Wait, who's Panda?
Oh, fuck. Sova. Ik weet niet waarom ik Panda niet zei.
So, what did I do?
Trolling.
When? In the lobby?
Yeah.
That makes sense. Prefer Vaporeon? Whoa.
Oh, look at the chat.
Damn. Shots fired.
What about
Revealing
me?
area.
Het is echt heel warm. Heb je die vorming aan of zo? Wat de hel? Hoe gaar is het? Waar is mijn telefoon überhaupt? The Pokemon Batman? Are they anywhere? B, okay, I see.
Spike plant.
Als ik me gedraag, gaat hij van mij houden.
Wie?
Maar... Ja, die guy.
Got one.
One is the main.
One enemy remaining.
Diffuse, diffuse, diffuse. Good job. Good job. Job good.
Gun here. Gun here.
Job good. 200 graden? Zit je in de oven of zo? Wat de hel? Je weet dat telefoons niet heel goed tegen ovens kunnen, hè? Where's our friend? You're not gonna join Discord? Yo, you're not gonna join Discord?
Keep those heels coming.
I can't join the voice channel.
Any voice. You can just hop into any... Oh.
Scanning ahead.
You can hop into any voice channel and I will drag you over.
Okay, then I will do it. Okay.
Oh, ze praten.
Ik heb shotgun, wat doe ik hier?
Spike planted.
Oh my god, 2 on mid.
Dat is goede info.
Ja, de oh my god. 2 on mid.
Waar dan?
Oh, blijkbaar zijn ze uit de mid gegaan. Nee, ik heb doodgaan van mid, dus ik moet
Let
iets
me go, let
zeggen.
me go.
Je weet dat ze benen hebben, hè?
Last player standing.
Oh my!
Banden.
Waarom
Je weet dat ze
switcht
benen hebben?
17 HP?
I think it's all low.
Guys, Panda forgot they had legs and they
Do you have the panda or lion roll?
But what if I want
You should have that, I think, before being able to do anything.
Revealing area.
Okay.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
25 on Sky and 80 on Breach.
Need heal.
Morning.
Spike down A.
Nadine! Hi! Ja, hebben we gewoon vandaag een Nederlandse stream of wat gebeurt hier? Dat is wel leuk. Ik sure pick some rolls too. Nee, het is 20 graden, bij mij is het 9 graden, valt mee, zo I don't know. Daarom zit ik ook op mijn PC. Op je PC, oh. Ik zit vaak achter, ik zit vaak voor mijn PC. Ja. Stel ervoor zit anders zie je zo weinig. Ja, dat dacht ik ook. Ja, dat is niet handig.
Maar Panda, als jij voor jouw PC zit,
Oké, ik zit...
zit je alsnog niet goed, hè?
Ik zit schuin voor mijn PC. Sorry, what? Your voice is a bit low. What did you say?
No. Never mind.
Oké. Ze praten!
Ja, maar er komt niet heel veel cons uit.
Ik weet niet wat ze zei.
Ik ook niet.
Oké. Iedereen praat Nederlands, dus ja, dan ga ik niet speciaal doen. Speciaal doen? Frikandel speciaal?
Ik ben speciaal.
Ik hou van frikandel speciaal.
QB.
Telt dat?
3B.
Nee. Voor jou niet.
Scanning ahead.
Found them.
I got a breach. I got a breach. Breach.
Dominant side.
Many enemies be. Gun here.
What?
Off your feet!
Ah. Niet leuk. Niet leuk.
Spike planted.
Ja.
Did you find the rolls?
Enemies close.
Speciaal is in Engels praten. Maar frikandel. Nu wil ik een frikandel speciaal, dammit. Ik ga niet meer. Ik ga niet met. Oké, ik ga wel met. Wel een beetje jouw schuld nu, Jay. Jay. Waarom doe je dit? Oh, wat de... Wat? Zucht.
Hey.
Hey, hey.
God damn it.
Spike planted.
Who there? Yellow one, pyramids one.
Enemy down.
Last player
No
standing.
comms, no comms. What the hell?
No peeking.
Oh, ze hebben te veel space met die
Een
smoke.
beetje moe. Oh nee. Hoe komt het? Hoe komt het? Heb je een leuke moederdag gehad, Nadine?
What do you say, drone? Ready to stretch your wings?
Alright, let's see.
Ik heb lekkere zachte handjes.
Zachte handjes.
Komt allemaal door.
Met even gold, dan kan ik je helpen. Oké.
Oké.
Oké, wat je zegt. Wat zei ze?
Ik weet het nog steeds
Op.
niet.
Scanning ahead.
Ja, a lot of people on A.
Oh, sorry.
Damn, bro.
I've got your trail.
No!
Reloading.
Spike planted.
Radiant, yeah.
Here. Stay down. My here.
Did you see that one?
One enemy remaining.
Your duty is not over.
Thank you.
No, come on, doors of yellow.
We cannot let them unweave our world. They're just batteries. And I need a recharge.
Why did he have to kill me twice? Zo hadden we nu wel vermoeiend. De kinderen. Fair. Fair. Lekker rustig aan doen. Morgen weer werken? Morgen weer werken? Ik denk het wel, hè. Oranguru.
Scanning ahead.
Are they A? Sharpie! Thank you for claiming first.
Take flight.
Morning!
Second is still available. Stream finally has started, bro.
Hey.
Hey. Wat is er?
Ik dacht dat je B zei.
Nee?
Spike planted.
Thank you for claiming second and third.
Enemy spotted A.
Left two.
Last player standing.
Ah, 40.
Shot down.
Broeder! Thanks.
My car is ready. We fight once again.
How's the games going? Well, you just entered and suddenly I have aim. So, yeah. I guess fine, Trippy. Thank you. Dinsdag ook en dan al het weekend. Dat wel. Lekker lang weekend. 5 dagen weekend voor mij. Wat chill. Kijk er naar uit. Wie win, wie survive.
You want to play? Let's play.
You're B.
Right here.
Trippy energy. Dude, Trippy.
Off your feet!
Enemy spotted me.
Spike planted.
There.
Last player standing.
He's opping from window.
Never left.
Last player standing.
That's my fault. And he really isn't, but still.
Oh, this reminds me of this one
Wait,
time
why did my Oreo just split in half?
Actually, never mind.
Rude.
Dab a drop.
Woo! I think he means lending me some energy, not shooting energy at me, bro. Damn.
Let us hunt. Scanning ahead.
Take all the Oreos, yeah.
I've got your trail.
Ja, en word ik ook geflasht.
Enemy spotted. Reloading. Sky killed.
Gave my life for you.
Last player standing.
Daria.
One enemy remaining.
Can't use this yet. I will not die here. No charges.
Nice shot.
We are strong because we are together. Don't forget that.
Should I keep it blue? I think I should keep it blue. Blue. You okay?
Moe.
The hell?
Hm?
My dart didn't work. They're never here, bro.
Very steep.
Ik ben bang, ik ben afgesnoopt.
Spike planted.
Ah, goddammit.
Last player standing.
Oh my! Why did I move?
Oh, ik was niet eens achter het muurtje.
Oh.
Ik dacht dat ik achter het muurtje was.
Bugs.
I got your backs. Just, you know, from the front.
Nee, dat was gewoon unlucky.
Whoa! I love those emotes. You never watched Dragon Ball? Time to watch it, bro. Homework for the rest of the week. Just all of Dragon Ball Z in a week.
Scanning ahead.
Okay, maybe not do that.
I am the hunter.
Enemy spotted.
Oh nee.
Fire in the hole!
No more.
Reloading.
I don't think he likes me.
Ik heb een gun nodig. Ik heb een gun nodig. Ik heb een gun nodig.
80, Sky.
Enemy spotted. A.
No people race.
Oh shit.
Last player standing.
We got Spike.
One enemy remaining. Spike down.
Oh, you have
A.
Spike. You have Spike. Hij is ja. Hij kan naar mid zijn gegaan, maar ja. Oh. Mijn schuld.
Ik zuig.
Anti.
Ik kan niks.
Cartoons,
Last
YouTube,
round before the
Twitch.
switch.
We cannot keep our goods after.
Still shorter than One Piece. Yeah, true. True. All together, yes, true. Find a good series to watch not often though? What do you mean? Can you explain that part or give an example? I think Vandal is just way better for me right now.
Revealing area.
I'm enemies. Sage. Oof.
Spike planted.
Oh, crap.
I've got your trail.
Last player standing.
Chamber is main. Eentje op site.
One enemy remaining.
Oh shit.
Jij met je fake comms.
Hij heeft mij letterlijk vanuit main gekilld. Dat hij intussen weer op site komt? Oké.
Dit is weer de tweede keer. Nee, jij zei eerst dat hij mid was. Bij de andere ding. Bij die andere, de vorige match, zei je, oh ja, ik kan ook mid zijn gegaan. En dan nu zeg jij mee.
Sorry hoor. Sorry hoor.
Beter.
Sorry hoor. Sorry, maar deze was wel juist. Enjoy Money Heist series or Outer Banks on Netflix?
Als jij mee
Not fair.
dan denk ik hier.
Maar dat was hij ook. Toen ik hem zag, dat hij verplaatst was. Ja, dat kan. Dat kan ik niet weten.
Beentjes heeft hij, hè. Net zoals ik zei dat hij mid was.
Enemy spotted B.
Hell, I wasn't paying attention. Raise up elbow. One flank. Nice.
Be faster.
You love anime, you want to rewatch a lot, but refuse to pay for Crunchyroll. That's fair. That's fair. I have someone. I know someone that pays for Crunchyroll, so I
Last player standing.
able to watch along with them. Thank you. Nog steeds stemming heel Timbrian. Wat?
What will it be this
Oh, was mijn Discord nog steeds aan? Ik dacht dat ik gemute was. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
Huh?
Sorry.
Wat?
Sorry.
Wat sorry?
Dat mijn Discord niet gemute was.
I'm saving.
Hoezo sorry?
Oh, mute werkt niet. Stom.
Oh shit, I lost my pet rock.
Bro.
Enemy spotted B.
Oh my god. Chamber tunnel, watch out.
Drop in a smoke. Reloading for you. Reloading.
Last player standing. Flawless.
Like, no smokes. No smokes. What? We get smokes after we're dead.
Match point.
Even with numbers, anything can still happen. Remember that.
Hoezo zeg je sorry?
Omdat mijn Discord niet gemute was en ik wilde muten en ik was aan het praten.
On my mind.
You fine happens to me sometimes. I don't know why I'm typing in English if I can type Dutch.
Shut up, cuties. It's not
Don't say your biggest anime streaming service and then they haven't everything.
Revealing area.
Ik weet wat dat betekent.
Eliminated. Hey. Hoi.
Taken out.
Eliminated.
Flank raise.
Barrier created.
Raise main.
One enemy remaining.
Dan hoorde ik hem. Oh. Naast mij. Wou ik zeggen.
Diffuse.
Clutch.
Really?
Defenders win.
Oh. Hey, how you doing, bro? What up? You flipped the score? Ah? For sure you have learned from Dutch, right, Trippy? I'll just learn Dutch so people don't need to talk English. I mean, hey, you're on the internet, so easy to right click and translate it, right? What was I? Third on the board? That's crazy.
Min 25.
Okay, bye-bye. No worries, bye-bye. Take care, man. Thank you for gaming, bro. Man, I don't know. I don't know what happened there, though. I don't know what happened there, though. That was crazy.
Waarom hij
Hello
niet
there.
piekte, snapte ik. Dat was al te laat. Maar waarom Rena helemaal naar achter was, snapte ik al helemaal
Die was
niet.
raar, toch?
Ja, die van Rena was gewoon raar.
So right now, I think so, but I know one word, and apparently I can't even say that, right? Doing good, chilling, nice. Wow. Imagine listening to a 0.04 because you even thought they had it. It wasn't even worth running away. Like, it's the last round. You don't risk anything. You just go for it. You just race them. You just be close to Spike and just get it. Score to 12, you flipped it. Should have been 12-2. True. You're right. You're right. I see. Did Velo have an update? It probably did. I have no idea when you were playing last time. When people start speaking in Dutch, I just zone out and do my own thing. That is very fair. You can say it, but you might get banned. Sizzly Pete? Another one? You don't have to say yes.
Ja.
Sure?
Ja.
Oh, what was my score? Minus 22. Ugh. Wait, we won the last round? I forgot about that.
Maakt niet uit.
Oh yeah, that was the weird Odin play. Okay, now that I'm finally warmed up, we are doing our last game.
Odin.
No. Odin messed me up.
Wordt dit jouw laatste?
Ja, denk het wel. Moet vroeg op.
Match found.
Odin only gameplay? That's what we did on the first game. Kinda.
Wherever they run, I will find them.
Oh, 3-stack. Hey everyone, what's up?
Geen kooms.
Shy Trio?
Hello.
Hello.
There you are. There you are.
Ik praatte.
Hola amigos.
Ja, zie je? Wat is de vrouw in het team die...
Okay. Wow, they're very talkative. It didn't seem so at first, Taste. Didn't seem so at first. Like when Lena speaks Dutch, I start fishing for compliments, right? Oh yeah, by the way guys, I haven't had Stream Avatar up for a while now and you guys never asked about it. Let me just put it up. Pull it up. It was away from my taskbar, so I kept forgetting to click it. What? You call him. That's what I hear. Oh, we've been on singing. Okay. I think I'm better off with VPN than Crunchyroll. That's crazy. That's crazy. Okay, did you? Okay, I see what you mean. Same. I miss fishing too. Not gonna lie. Gotta say, number 1 in the fishing leaderboards. I'm fishing compliments from Chirpy with my melee. But you didn't get back to that.
Jet is level 39 iron.
Okay.
Iron.
Jet in I Ela. Did I respond to you? I forgot. Sorry, maybe I overlooked it. I was kind of gaming.
Scanning ahead.
I mean, yes, you did.
Help me.
Ignore me. Oh, they are rushing.
$78 on Phoenix.
Shock dart.
Je mist hem ook volledig.
Last player
zei je?
standing. Spike down B.
Captain killed.
Ik zei alleen, je mist hem volledig.
No!
Ew.
I mean, no.
You gay. You're motherfucking gay, am I?
So, what if I would be?
Go die, man.
Okay, now that is just crazy. Instantly voice chat report. Homophobic. Hate. There you go.
Revealing area.
Enemy's out. Why goes when? Whenever I get it in my store, bro. I have to get the whole bundle now. GG, idiot. Even report naar die Phoenix zo meteen.
Phoenix?
Ja.
Spike planted.
Homophobic hate. Oh?
Done.
30 maar? Thanks.
Ik zat even te sturen hoe ik homophobic moest schrijven.
That's not a lot, Trippy.
Last player standing.
Flash! Watch your eyes! You're out.
Ik zit op mijn komkommer te kauwen nu.
Nice.
All good. All good.
Holy.
One enemy remaining.
Window.
Nice try, nice try. Cover. Oh, nice try, brother. You have mic, server.
What up?
Do you have mic?
No?
So you need to talk, brother.
No?
That's good. That's better.
No?
Just so stupid. The stupid description.
What?
Where are you from, Sofa?
I don't want to talk to this guy.
From where, brother?
Scanning ahead. Right here.
Oh, ik heb iets bij mij.
Shock dart. Down.
66 Phoenix.
You will not kill my ally.
Come on, let's go! Careful now.
Spike planted.
Wat is dit voor lobby? Mute him? Okay.
Reloading.
Watch your eyes!
No energy for this today. Main.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
Don't insult me.
You should have peeked earlier. Some questionable English from that guy. I don't want to insult or anything, but that didn't really. Your melee goated though. Thank you. I didn't really hear what he said, so I was not really labeling it as English at some point. Does that make sense? Makes sense, right? I think I'm gonna go B or A, not C this time. Then you started saying random words. Okay, thank God it wasn't just me.
Ik wil meer komkommer.
Kom. Ah.
Tripwire destroyed.
70 Sage.
Revealing area. Found them.
Last player standing.
Bro! What a headshot, bro.
One enemy remaining.
You're not dead? Ellie?
Als hij nou zijn ult gebruikt.
Nee, dat is te makkelijk. Hij is linksachter, oké. Oh my god. Heb je gewoon fusen? Oh, hij heeft op tijd. Don't want to go back? Makes sense. Wait, aren't you playing from here? Like, wasn't that today?
Time for them to kneel.
Welcome to Valorant, Trippy, that's crazy. Absolutely wild. You're still saving, kinda? Yo, Olax, what up?
3.
How is you, girl? Guess what? You bought a PlayStation.
Scanning ahead.
I don't know why I said that. I have to get something. Guess what? Guess what? I'm guessing what then? Then I'm guessing what? I guess it's what? Also, oh, you're playing Valorant? Is that what you're saying? Oh my god!
Right here. Neutralized. My ult is ready.
Last player
Oh, my ult
standing.
is ready. Oops.
Spike planted.
I should have ulted. Ooh! I think my news is not big in front of a PS5. What do you mean? It could have been bigger than a PS2. Still a PlayStation. I just said PlayStation, right? Did I say PlayStation 5? Spill the tea. You hit 1K! Yeah, congratulations with the 1K, Olax. Let's go! 5K soon, 5K soon. 5K soon. Let's go. Can you get a shout out for Alex, please? Definitely follow Alex, everyone.
Revealing area.
See.
Maak je maar geen zorgen. Wij
Say. I'm out. Bye. I'm out.
Last player standing. Spike down. C. Spike
That was
planted.
so bad, bro. That was so bad. Thanks, Bandy. You're welcome. You're welcome. Of course. You were my first 20? Wait, your first 20? What? Before I got affiliated? Was I in the top? Was I in the first 20 people? Cool. Cool. I remember you jumping into my stream and then you're like, oh, yo, what's up? It was fun. That was fun. I missed your first stream though.
Revealing area. There they are.
Enemy spotted C.
Really?
Here's a heal. Come on, let's go. Someone in C.
Spike down, C.
Spike's here. Watch your eyes.
Safety.
Right here.
One enemy
Not
remaining.
ready yet.
Easy, Sage.
Teamwork. Makes that dream work.
They will scurry, and then they will die.
Looking to get up for gym tomorrow. Good luck with you. Hey, sleep tight, bro. Sleep tight. Thank you for hopping in today, Trippy. You're there from the start. No, I missed the first stream. I can't say I wasn't there from the start. I can't. Impossible.
Let me show you how to
What is he saying?
Ik heb echt geen idee.
Scanning ahead.
Tijo. Ah.
I am the hunter. Shot down.
Rotating. Never mind.
It's you and me.
Cutting their vision.
Morning.
Noah, how you doing tonight?
Last player standing.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I think B.
Spike planted.
They plant. They heard that. They must have heard that. Right? No, they didn't.
Right here, right now.
Backside werd niet geraakt.
One enemy remaining.
Here's a heal. I'm sorry, but this is shit.
Nice try. Nice try.
Watch for my tech, everyone. If I throw
Are we sweating out of what? You see, it's not that hot in here, bro. How you doing? No problem. Always amazing to come by. Bye. Strippy, thank you so much for the kind words, bro. You guys are amazing in chat. You guys are amazing. Just saying. Don't forget. Cousin passed away on the 8th? Oh no! My condolences, bro. Are you okay? Are you with people and stuff?
Scanning ahead.
How's the family handling it?
Get out of my way.
Bruh, for 5 HP, bro.
104 ISO.
Still in sight.
Embarrassing.
Spike planted.
Peter went to my grandma today. Oh. Remember today,
Last player standing.
De crazy part is, hij doet zelfs toxic tegen zijn eigen stack, waar hij mee gecued is.
Oh, ik heb het gemute, dus ik wil niet riskeren op stream.
Nee, hij zegt niet erge dingen nu meer hoor. Hij zegt alleen echt zo van, je moet mensen pushen en zo. En dit, dat zo.
Ja. Jochie.
En dan tegen mij doet hij aardig.
To be live, what is... I'm good, went to my grandma today for Mother's Day on my dad's side. Your cousin was on your mom's side, pass. Oof. Did you know your cousin well? To be alive, what is sorry is that his parents won't give him his proper Hindu funeral rites. They won't? Ja, vandoor, wil aan mijn slaapschema werken. Oeh, succes, succes. Ik kan niet veel in het Engels woord uitleggen, geen probleem. Hou het gewoon lekker Nederlands als je wil, no worries.
Je zou maar een slaapschedule hebben.
That could definitely not be you.
Yep.
Mid.
You will not kill my ally!
Prepare for hellfire! Come on, let's go! Careful now.
Best bullets.
Spike planted. Last player standing.
Oh!
Target down. Watch your eyes.
Wow. Wow! Gecondoleerd, Noah. Dankjewel, Noah. Slaap lekker, Nadine. Slaap lekker. Parents are more bothered with what they want over what he needs to for his soul to move on. Oh, yikes. Yeah, what to say, man? We need to save, but we're not doing it.
Scanning ahead.
Great. B is open for no reason.
Take flight. Right here.
Ik ben op B, maar ik moet even smoken.
Going up.
Oh shit! Freaking Molly. Twee Phoenix is echt vreselijk. Ik didn't even notice that Molly. Alsof een familie de karma niet gaat backfire, ja. Ik ken dat.
Last player standing.
Ik speelde met mijn neef, maar zijn overleden.
Last round
Zit nu niet dwars. En ziel moet een keer gaan. Dat is sterk van je, man. Ik bedoel, je mag altijd verlies voelen, maar dat is sterk van je als je er zo mee om kan gaan met die mindset.
Ik zou janken. Nog steeds.
Dat mag.
Ik wel aan het spel.
Dat mag. Allemaal niks mis mee.
En dan ga ik boos zijn.
Revealing area.
Nee, bedankt.
Found them.
En nu ben ik bang. Ik ga ulten.
It's you and me.
Great, ik ben gepikt met Captain. No!
Spike down A.
Oh.
Last player standing. One enemy remaining.
I thought I was dead, but I wasn't. Sage. Laatst op C, toch?
Geen idee, ik ben door chat dood gegaan.
Oh.
Zo, ik heb mijn tattoo weer
30 seconds
ingesmeerd,
left.
want hij moet nog steeds een stukje genezen.
Nice. P.
Spike planted.
Ik heb hem nu een maand, hè.
Ja.
Mijn Umbrian.
Wat doet hij? Okay. Duck Woo, how was your stream, bro?
Clutch.
It's Duck Woo in the house. Hey.
Switching sides.
Yo. We just did a 210 comeback to 15-13. Hey, let's go, bro. Let's go. Now you do your yeah. Let's get the 9-3 curse activated, right? How you doing, Doug? How was your T stream? How was your T stream? Did you do one game or did you do multiple? Did you do Premiere by any chance? We're still looking at people who heard this Premiere. It's been crazy. We kind of missed out on last one too. We're not really encountering people in comp that were like, okay, yeah, we want to play with y'all. Yeah, stream was good. Let's go, dude. Everybody follow Duckwoo. He's been streaming lately. He got an affiliate too.
Scanning ahead. There they are.
The helly?
Gone.
What are you moving, bro?
Stay down.
Maybe next time that you're rotating.
Oh. What are you doing? What are you doing? Go.
What?
Go. Plant.
Here.
Dus.
Je kan het, je kan het.
Smoke's up.
That was the Duckwoo buff, guys. That was the Duckwoo buff there, right there. We did 2 games now. We did 3 earlier in the day, so it was 2-part stream. Oh, nice. Nice. Love that. Love that.
My quiver is never full.
Oh ja, als ze iets nuttigs zeggen, moet je het wel zeggen, hè? Dan weet ik het ook.
Oh nee, het eens wat ze zeiden is... We hebben je reveal nodig, Sova.
Oh, arme jochies. Hannah! How you doing, other panda? Sorry, but you are the other panda in here. I'm sorry. But you matter even more because you're a panda in here, so hey. That's an extra thing. Oops, messed up my dart. Damn, nobody saw that, right? Maar ja, veel mensen kunnen de Garuda Purana niet gewoon volgen bij het overlijden van een persoon. Ja, dat, kijk, uiteindelijk is het natuurlijk keuzes. Die mensen maken het leven. Niet iedereen gelooft ook even zwaar. Dat heb je ook nog. Oh. Nice.
One enemy remaining.
Backside watch out.
Smoke's up.
There. Reload.
50 bullets. Oh.
Last
Dodge.
player standing.
I love you, random citizen.
Oh, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the follow. I love you, random citizen. Thank you, Panda. Val, this sound weird? Called out? Wait, your game sound is scuffed?
Oké, die was wel mooi.
Oh, crap. Ja, top. Top ronde.
Boos?
Wat? Ik hè? Nee.
Je schreeuwt.
Sorry, ik probeerde te unmuten. Dat was niet helemaal lekker gegaan. Is game sound better now, guys? Sometimes it just messes up out of nowhere. I don't know why.
Revealing area. There they are.
Oopsie. Panda de Gamba expert. Je audio is botched. Wees die wel?
Last player standing.
Hey! Nee, niet op het moment. Denk het ook niet. Wat is er bus? Sounds veel weten over bros. Laat me weten. En dan wel een klein beetje nog. Wat zou niet moeten zijn? Kunnen we go lurken? Snackies though. Happy gaming! Happy evening! Happy night! Thank you guys for hopping in. Thank you for the lurkies. Enjoy sneaks. I'm going to snacks. I'm going to steal. That's crazy, you know. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Ik ben moe.
Kan je een cardi kopen?
Need a drop. Thanks.
Dank u.
Hey, nu ben ik ook.
Into the
Dat
unknown.
klopt. Dat volgende keer wel voor, oké?
Sorry. Ik heb ongeveer gebodyblocked.
Wauw.
Deploying drone.
Reloading.
I'm not sure if my body's on no. Ooh.
My ult is ready.
Reloading.
Out of charges.
Right here, right there.
Last player standing.
Holy!
One enemy remaining. Spike down A.
I have the spike.
30 seconds left.
Spike planted.
Whoa!
Show's over. Go home.
Oh, dat shit.
GG.
This is crazy. It feels like
Dat was een ace.
Dat was een ace!
Ik had het niet eens door.
Lekker bezig. Met je ult en alles. An ace with an ult is amazing. You gladly share snackies, but then it's no fun anymore to steal it. Nice to share though. Jump scare simulator W ace, right?
joke's over. You're dead.
What the hell?
Gun here.
Mooi was, het waren ook allemaal headshot aces.
Found.
Crap.
Spike down A. Last player standing.
Wait. Why is everybody dead?
No chance. I have the spike.
Hij zei 2B-side.
Dat is goed te weten.
30 seconds left.
Die moest nu C gaan van hem.
Dan moet ik naar B gaan, toch?
Huh?
Moet ik niet naar B gaan, toch?
Nou, ik ben zelf niet eens zo sure.
10 seconds left.
Hij zei plant en play ult.
Planted.
Voilà.
Scanning
Er
ahead.
staat niks van, dat maakt niet uit.
Found them.
One enemy remaining.
Lekker.
Dank je.
Don't worry, you're with me.
Nee, maar het mooiste was, die ace was ook in allemaal headshots.
Lekker. Lekker.
Ik was zelf gewoon
Good
bang,
shit,
hè.
thank you. What the fuck in the Phantom? How?
Hij vroeg of jij A-side kan revealen.
Ja, ik heb nog gemute, dus hij bekijkt het maar.
Get out of my way!
Revealing area.
Someone's A. Nice one.
Come on bro, peek it, 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 peek it. Oh, heeft hij daar gesmoked? Een rare smoke.
Prepare for hellfire.
Deploying drone.
Planted.
Enemy mark.
Feeling sight.
Someone's A. Healer's down.
One enemy remaining.
Smoke's resonating.
Scanning ahead.
Auw!
Wiped clean.
Het stond op een hele rare plek voor mij.
Komt goed.
A bow and arrow is
Nee.
old-fashioned, but sometimes old ways are best.
Ik heb zo'n volume redelijk laag staan, ik hoor niks speciaals. Jawel dan? Maar mogelijk nog steeds, interesting, laat me even checken. Volume, doe je hoort het wel? Buzz sounds? Wacht even, en nu nog steeds? Nu nog steeds?
Revealing area.
It's you and me.
Crap!
You will
Last
not
player
kill
standing.
my allies!
Careful now.
Oh my god.
Look at that butt. Oh my god.
Oh Oh, hi, Mark. Dude, I've been watching Invincibles and I'm waiting for the next season now.
De wielen aan de bus gaan rond.
Invincible.
Rond en rond, rond en rond. De wielen van de bus gaan rond en rond. Dan ben ik de tekst kwijt.
Rond en rond. Als de bus gaat draaien. Rijden.
Oh. Draaien? Dat
Rijden. Ik verbeter hem zelf. Auw. Scheidsovertreding. Brother.
Spike down A.
Ik dood.
Dus Silvio heeft de remix gemaakt en heb je die gehoord? Oh, nee. Niet gehoord. Volume is op 50. Nu niet meer? Dan is het Spotify.
My ultimate's ready. Careful now.
Ik moet plassen.
Dan ga je.
Maar dan mis ik dit spel. I try from piss.
Wielen van de bands? Oh mijn god.
I want their life, not yours.
Ik wil weer in overtime met deze mensen. We hebben een full ulti nu.
De wielen van de bus gaan
Rond en rond.
Rond
En rond. En rond.
Panda, stop.
Wat?
Je verpest mijn performance.
Oh, sorry. Ik dacht dat ik een toevoeging was aan je performance.
Revealing area.
Oké, wat gaan we nu zingen?
Merry girls are undeniable. Daisy Dukes bikinis on top. Sun kiss inside. And next mountain popsicles. What?
Last player standing.
I am so dead.
I have the spike.
Bro!
Defenders win.
Oh, thank you for the sound redeem. I could not hear a word you were saying, Umbriel.
Min 20.
Wat?
Oh, min 20.
Min 16. Nog eentje?
Nee.
Oh.
Ja, misschien. Wacht. Ik ga eerst plassen en dan beslis ik. Oké. Nee.
Maar ik heb geen tijd. Dus ja of nee?
Pissen. Ik ga eerst pissen.
Go!
Kan dan.
Apparently that is stopped by Automod. But I'm not thinking anyone would say words like that in combination with each other, so let's just keep it like that. Thank you for the hydration as well. Please, how you doing tonight? How you doing? The Indian mixtape? Hell yeah. I mean, it was really mad at the second, third, and the fourth combination of the words. I mean, the combination of those words, it was kind of messed up with that. Like, nah, we're not doing that. Shah and Lom, how are you? I'm doing okay. Yeah, we're chilling. Today we have Mother's Day. So this weekend we've been visiting the mothers. It was fun. It was fun happenings. Didn't even mean it like that. I know, but you know, out of context, Twitch mod was like, oh, let's not do that. Twitch Automod. I'm gonna get something for mom tomorrow. She was having oh, you're gonna have something for mom on
Master of Mondays. May your heart be your guiding.
on Masters of Mondays. Is that what you're saying, Felipe? She's having a fever today. Oh no, not the fever. Hope she's well soon, like ASAP, preferably ASAP. Hallo weer, er weer.
Oké, Q maar. Nog één.
Makes sense, I guess. I already forgot what I was saying.
Can't
Oh
go
yeah,
to
yeah,
bed
the
on a
the
loss.
the Automod, yeah.
Can't go to sleep on a loss.
Cannot sleep on the wind. What? Oh yeah, makes sense, I guess. Oh, Nadine love mom.
Match found.
Don't we all love our moms? Checking. Let's go, we're ending up with a sense.
Ik ga de fout niet nog een keer maken.
Pak Sage. There you go.
Stop.
Goed zo. Goed bezig.
Stress mij.
Sorry. Pak Sage, snel!
Niet mij zo stressen.
Sorry. Zo is het niet bedoeld. Zo is het niet bedoeld. Hey man, what up?
Ja, nu ben ik sad.
Sorry. Mikael, sorry.
Dan ga ik huilen.
Nee.
Ja.
Dat is niet waar. Je liegt.
Ja.
Je liegt. Nee, je liegt. Ik ga je langer dan vandaag. Je liegt.
Ik ga huilen.
Guys.
Dat is niet mee.
Guys, she's being mean to me right now.
Je zit te schreeuwen.
Helemaal niet. Ik hoor je gewoon lachen, weet je dat?
Battlefield, same crap.
Nee, ik zal nooit lachen.
Wat? Nee. Je zit me in de maling te nemen. Je houdt het wel lang vol.
Nee, je bent echt gemeen. Hoe durf je mij te stressen? Guys, Sofa is stressing me out. I'm really upset.
I'm just holding a hammer. What did I just holding a hammer? What? I'm confused.
He yelled at me and now he's threatening me.
This is not what it looks like, I promise.
Je bent gemeen.
Oké. Wil je dat ik sorry zeg?
Scanning ahead.
Dat heb ik al gezegd. Al 6 keer ongeveer.
Nee.
There they are.
Reloading. Nee, dat heb je niet gezegd.
Guys.
Stim beacon down.
Help.
Enemy removed.
See? There she is. I think she was here.
Out of charges.
Spike planet.
Reloading.
One enemy remaining.
Nice. Well done, Raze. Oh, Raze, what the hell? Holy! And 22 HP, brother!
These guns we use are okay, but I will also bring my own. No offense.
Huh? Dat zei je niet allemaal in al chat trouwens. Oké. Wat deed hij?
Ja, hij sprong ineens van achteren naar mij toe en onze bullets waren op en toen ging hij me knijven.
Eeuw. Lame! Niet leuk, auw.
Gone.
Meen ik.
Revealing area.
Oh nee, mijn monitorbeeld is uitgegaan.
Nice.
Nee! Mijn beeld is uitgegaan. Oh, ik ben er weer.
Stim beacon here.
Hell.
One enemy remaining. Flawless.
That works. Oh, flawless. Crazy.
Lead us to victory, Brimstone.
I audibly said damn when Ray's hit the floor. Thank you.
Really? Can I get the
They're
spike?
being rude, okay, I had to do that. It was self-defense reversed.
Thank you.
You know what I mean. No.
Panda, je bent heel gemeen tegen mij.
Alweer. Nou ga je het weer.
Revealing
Ah!
Okay, that's
Spike
not
down
nice.
Why are they not moving? Hooter. Ha.
Smoke's down.
Satchel out.
Letha said hi, Umbreon.
Hello.
Hello. She said hello.
Smoke. Enemy spotted A.
Shooty.
Standing.
Bruh.
Misschien was de
I had mine! After I died, but I had mine!
No more doubts. We're ready.
Misschien was het een dom idee om nog één te queuen.
Nee joh, we winnen gewoon. Easy
Ik ben
peasy.
echt moe.
Oh, dan moet je slapen.
Ja, moe.
Met je ogen dicht, liefst.
Ga ik doe mijn ogen dicht doen. En slaap lekker.
Slaap lekker. Everybody say goodnight to Umbreon.
Focus now. Eyes off me.
Scanning ahead. Take flight.
Enemy mark. Dim beacon down.
Goedemorgen, ben ik weer wakker.
Spike down B. Last player standing.
0? Back in the corner.
There they are.
One enemy remaining.
That's 3.
Watch the BCT. Oh!
Did you see their faces? Sorry, I should not.
Well played, bud.
Style and substance chamber. Excellent work.
That was another damn, wasn't it? It was another damn. Als iedereen zo'n one heeft in het team. That is true. Wild? What was the wild? Banished him into this shadow realm.
I'll find them.
This is wild. I'm not darting. It made sounds.
Scanning ahead.
Launching smoke.
Not sure. My ult is ready.
Take flight. Out of charges.
Rotate, rotate, rotate. Just go, go, go.
Dim beacon here.
Shock dart.
Spike planted. My ult's ready.
One enemy remaining.
Bro. Oh.
That's the lot of them.
Nice. No comms at all.
Keep taking this seriously, even if they aren't.
Ik was heel confused waar alles was.
Huh? Renegade. Kan je me droppen?
They are making this simple.
Nee.
Thanks.
Dank je.
Hey, moest jij niet voor mij kopen?
Ja, een keer.
Revealing area.
Dit.
Enemy spotted. Satchel out.
Als je even 2 kills krijgt, dan...
Watching here.
Oeh. 0-1.
Ik wil eens.
One enemy remaining.
Nee.
Enemy spotted A.
Rip Ace.
And tagged.
Rip Ace.
That was good. Another round, yes?
Uninstalled Holy. That clutch probably made the enemy consider touching grass for reassurance. It's not their fault, that's wild. Zie jou.
Wat moet je?
Ik zie jou.
Wat moet je?
Ik zie jou. Guys, we're getting a close-up of Sage. Wat schiet je mij? Wat schiet je mij?
Reloading.
Ik had gehoopt dat je eigenlijk een hartverzakking zou
Revealing
krijgen.
area.
Nah.
Grenade.
Waarom doet... No!
Can you plant here? Can you plant here? And then close to generator.
Right here. Gun
Close,
here.
close to generator. Close. No! Waarom luistert die niet?
Omdat ze allemaal niet luisteren. At all. I can play Pearl, just go back. Hold back. Just stay alive.
Staying alive. Oh, staying alive.
One enemy remaining.
Dat werkt ook.
Ik wil die Phantom. Nou.
Hey, coole Phantom heb ik nu. Nice.
Hey,
Oké, dit is... Hier heb je gedropt.
Oh. Ja, nu ben ik helemaal blij.
New stage model? Yes, you didn't know, Lita? It's actually lore and everything. It's like the first time they ever changed the model of an agent.
Sage gaat haar ability kwijtraken.
Yep, she's not gonna rest soon.
Standing ahead.
Fire in the hole.
Hunt them.
Ja, je moet ons redden.
Bro!
Spike down B.
Opponent killed. Healing. Your
Oh.
had the spike.
They should have dug a deeper
Thank you.
Smoke's down.
Here.
Deploying drone. Enemy tag.
Reloading. Spike carrier down.
111.
Spike
Fake.
down B.
So first I get slowed by the Killjoy bot, then I try to move out of the way, and then I get bullied.
Last player standing.
Got the spike.
GG's. Killjoy, GG's. Haven't played Valor for a while.
Spike planted.
Coming to healing others, and Lord, she's healed so many people, she's out of the field entirely.
Nice.
Nice. Yo, y'all got comms? Any chance? Mics?
Surrounded by minha família.
Wat is een microfoon?
We won't lose.
Weet niet. Never that. Ze zijn echt ons aan het ignoren, at all. Fully. Oh man.
Ja, ik zei tegen hem van plant heel dicht bij de generator. Denk jij doet het? Nee.
Die generator?
Bonne chance, mes amis.
Die generator?
Weet je, ik plant dichtbij.
Generator.
De generator.
Oh, the generator. Okay.
Scanning ahead. Smoke. Found them.
It's me.
Take flight.
Beter luisteren, Panda.
Nee, jij zei het anders.
Nee, beter luisteren.
Auw!
Out of charges.
Spike
Help,
down
heal.
B.
Thank you.
Ik ben dood.
What the hell?
Reloading.
Last player standing.
Level heads until we're home, yes? Good.
There.
Need a drop. Thanks.
Thank you.
Forward.
Boo. Ik komt met al voor je.
Ik weet dat Fate hier soms pusht.
Daarom. Gekko mid.
Launching smoke. Goner.
One enemy remaining. Last player standing.
Oeh, side.
Spike down A.
Close. Lekker bezig. Eeuw. Rare skin pak je op.
Ik wou hem niet echt hebben.
Nee, snap ik. Toch lelijk.
Ik wou hem gewoon voor de grap. Maar
Dat is lelijk. Dat is lelijk. Time to play some Valo again. Into WoW, Diablo, and Repo. Repo's fun. How was Repo fun? What happened? What did they do now? I'm not gonna go mid again.
Je hebt nu autootjes in Repo, hè?
Waarom?
Je kan vroom.
Waarom?
Leuk.
Revealing area.
No.
Ai.
Not doing that shit. Not doing that shit.
Deploying drone. Enemy marked.
You should run. Face your fear!
I am the hunter!
Last player standing.
Chamber, you went a bit too far back, bro.
Last round before the switch.
If you saved, spend it.
Waarom was Chamber zo dicht bij mij? Waarom ging hij gewoon... Cubby of zo?
Hij vindt je leuk. Hij wou je een smooch geven. Zag je dat niet? Hij wou gewoon...
Papa! Dat mag niet. Geen toestemming.
The storm, I fight.
Oh. Hij heeft geteleport op de wand.
Ja, ik...
Last
Killjoy
player
is low,
standing.
124.
Chamber Round Cuddle Buddy? Nee! Get a cosmetics, new monsters and new items.
Ja,
On Repo? I don't like Repo. I would not enjoy Repo.
Cuddle Buddy voor Panda.
I would not... No, nee.
There.
Gewoon nee.
Chamber naast je, een bodypillow van Chamber.
Nee.
En dan gaan we...
Nee.
Oh, dan een bodypillow van sofa.
We don't.
Ja.
Revealing area. There they are.
Ik hoorde geen nee.
Waarom was Raze mid? Makes sense.
Spike planted.
Ze hebben gefaked de eerste ronde.
Here.
Smoke's down.
No comment, Leva.
Last player standing.
No shot.
Hey, ik hoorde geen nee van jouw kant, dus...
Ik weet niet wat je zei.
Bodypillow van Chamber.
Denk nee.
Nee, net hoorde ik geen nee, dus...
Zeker wel.
Ik koop er wel eentje voor jou.
Nee, denk je. Nee, denk je.
Jawel.
Nee, denk je.
Verstuur ik hem op...
Scaredy cat?
Oh.
Okay, which gun to pick this time?
Oh, ik heb een beter idee. Ik ga gewoon naar TwitchCon komen met één grote bodypillow. Waar Jamie gaat naartoe gooien. Ik ga zeggen, hier Panda, je belooft een cadeautje.
En dan ontwijk ik hem en dan ren ik haar kaart weg.
Nou,
Aha.
nou,
Aha.
nou.
Aha.
Ik denk dat ik je sneller jou kan inhalen.
Mogelijk.
Je
Dat is alleen maar omdat je conditie hebt. Oh, dat is de reden gewoon. Zie je, je hebt me gewoon met dart verpest.
Sorry.
Mijn enemy wies.
Dood. Ik denk dat ze weten dat je flank bent.
Niet. Nou,
Spike planted.
Ja.
Last player standing.
Oh! Goed. Oh, I gotta go bed, gotta go to the doctors tomorrow again. Good luck at the doctors. You gotta. Yeah. Bye-bye. Why are you calling her Brion?
Brie?
Brie, je bent een Brie.
Brie?
Ja, Brie.
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 I didn't make it up.
Brie.
Brie. What the Brie?
Scanning ahead.
Hey. Because she didn't say hi to me? Oh. I think she did say hi to you, but you weren't here when she said it.
I did say hi to
Yeah.
Volita.
Volita, you're in the wrong. Rotating.
Er zijn hier twee.
One enemy remaining.
Ik ken niet zo
Spike down, attacker spawn.
Lekker bezig, panda.
Nou, die moet je echt nog een keer zien. Die moet je nog een keer zien. Die moet je echt zien. Thank you for the exclamation clip. Thank you.
Morning.
Who's me to say dat ik like Jensen naar je doen? Oh, die moet je echt zien. Die moet je echt zien. Drie, die moet je zien. Een nieuwe... Oh, she has a new nickname now. 3.
Nee.
Ja. Je zei net 6 keer 3. So glad it's safe for this. Dat was amazing.
Revealing area.
Ik denk dat ze niet bij zijn, panda.
Wait. The mouse wasn't moving. Misschien zijn ze al bij. Mid? No? Nee.
Meteen chillen ze in een span. Niks bij mij.
Ja.
Down you go. Enemy spotted A. Enemy spotted A.
Spike down A.
No! Oh, met 7.
Thirty seconds left. One enemy
Silence.
remaining.
My ult is ready. Scanning ahead.
Last player standing.
Out of charges.
Oh mijn god. Oeh, mag ik die venten?
Act on my intel. Don't give them time to reposition.
Nou, je koopt me gewoon een tweede keer.
Bizar. Ik zou het niet meer moeten doen.
Oh.
Dat is wat je zegt, toch? Dat is wat je zegt, toch? Nee?
Oh, de hoeveelheid keren dat ik jou koop.
I'm just joking, oké? De keren dat ik jou ook koop, trouwens. Oké, bye! Bye, Felita!
Revealing area.
Sorry that's the end with Umbreon crying.
Shot down.
Mid.
Right here.
Waar is hier? Hè? Oh.
1 B. 1 mid.
Enemy down.
Nice.
Kijk, 78 on Race en 70 on Gekko.
Defeated. Deploying drone. Enemy mark.
Oh shit.
Spike down B. One enemy remaining.
3 gone.
Geen info.
Scanning ahead.
Last player standing. 30 seconds left.
There's like guns all over the floor. Serieus?
Hij had de hele tijd al een vendel.
We're here because we're the best. Don't any of you
Why?
Why?
There were so many guns on the floor, broski. Why?
Yeah, see, I told you he is
The only
stressing
thing I
people.
said is there's guns all over the floor. That's it. That's all I
He was
said.
stressing me too in the beginning of the match. I told you.
Niet gaan voeden. Niet gaan voeden. Het is bullshit. Jezus.
Revealing area.
Nee, die is hij niet.
Guys, what do I have to do with this one?
You should
I'm just gonna fully
Oh, die heb ik
mute. Then
heel van je panda.
Double ult?
Spike planted.
Shut down.
My ultimate.
Last player standing.
Ik was aan het faken.
Drink some water, reload your mags, and let's get back out there.
Oh, die heb ik wel even geklipt hoor, weer.
Wat?
Jouw mooie dart.
Huh?
Jouw prachtige dart die
Oh.
op deze mooie box belandde.
Er was ook een espresso. Dat was espresso. I am so slow getting ultimate. B.
Oh, I'm sorry, Walter.
Scanning ahead. There they are.
Rotating?
Quiet now.
Oh yeah! Monster on the loose!
One enemy remaining.
They threw everything at me. They threw everything at me. Everything. Mollies, teleports, blinds, everything at the same time. I don't know how I survived that long though still after that, but got me in the end. Renegade.
Damn.
Holy ability spam slop. That's what I'm saying. Oh wait, I can do this one. Yeah.
Revealing area.
Scatter.
Goed. Spawn. Our spawn.
Right here.
Hot shot.
$105. We have my shotgun.
Omen kill.
Spike planted.
Okay,
Dank.
bro lived by the sheriff and died by the sheriff. Bro lived by the sheriff, died by the... Yeah, that... Ik was aan het praten met chat.
Ja, nu te laat. Spelen met die handel.
Nee.
Ja.
One enemy remaining.
Revealing area.
Hold on to your hats. Not the boom you hoped for.
Goeie res, goeie res.
Ja. Zie je? En dan zit jij te klagen tegen mij.
Maar ik was aan het praten met chat.
Maakt niet uit, dat weet
Oké.
ik niet.
Dat klopt, want ik was gemute. W key to victory. Appreciate it. Look at an event in the sky to save you. Yeah.
Oh ja, de nieuwe set komt uit, hè?
Zijn we eruit? What
Van
box
de
set?
First Partner Illustration.
Heb het over?
De First Partner Illustration.
Van?
Gen 2. Of episode 2 van
Deploying drone.
Pokémon.
Enemy tagged.
Kom on.
Right here.
Got Spike.
Spike
Out
down
of
A.
charges. Spikes here.
30 seconds left.
Revealing area.
Trust.
One enemy remaining. 10 seconds left.
GG's.
Defenders win.
Renee? Oh.
En nu ga ik slecht, hè? Oh, en dan winnen we.
Dropped straight in my eye. Alright, that was it for tonight. Oh. We had an episode where Umbreon was actually fake complaining. For the longest time. 32 RR! Damn! 8 RR extra. Yo, that was the match of the year, bro. It was just SpongeBob who outdone me there. Good team! Greets from Serial Killer. Hello, Raze. GG's. You were scary at some points. You said I was scary, then you returned it right back to me. That was crazy. That was crazy. It was fun. Thank you. My team had 0 comms. Oh, ditto. I was here with my duo. We had chats, but the entire team, they were not even listening sometimes. I was like, do they even hear me? And then at some point, I said to Brim, because he was doing sheriff shots while he had a gun, a secondary gun, I think. And there was vandals all over the place. I was like, yo, there's guns all over the place. And then he said, you stressed me after he lost that one. I was like, but that's literally the only thing I said. Like, what? I didn't even say it in any aggressive way either. That was so crazy.
Jawel.
Graag jij. Doei! Oké, gemute. Muted. Muted.
Vieze, gemeenerik, weet je.
Ja, jij bent hier iedereen de freaking feed, hè? Jongen. She is so toxic today. It's crazy. But she's like doing it in a way where it's like every time it's like she's making like she's the victim in any place. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Set my jump pad for the ult. That's why I got you only. Oh, that ult was crazy. I was like, so Gego ulted everybody but me. So I went forward and then I saw you. I was like, okay, let me shoot you. And somehow my shots were not shooting. And then you just messed me up. But then the rest of the team survived. I think we still lost that round, but yeah.
He is stressing everyone out.
I think I'm gonna get out of this voice C because this is not really progressive. Bye, Embryon. Thank you for the games, Embryon. Sleep tight, Embryon. Bye, Embryon. Bye. Oh, Discord just cut out. Bye.
Nou, gemeen.
Zeg dan doei.
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 Gemeenerd.
Aanstellerd.
Gemeenerd.
Niet eens aanstellen, ze doen het gewoon expres. Dat is nog het ergere. Dit gewoon letterlijk. Het is gewoon toxic as heck tonight. Dat is echt crazy. Doei.
Nou, je bent echt gemeen, hè?
Ik ben keigemeen. Keigemeen. Ik ben de gemeenste ever. Ja, welkom buurtland. Oh, you're from Germany? Oh, België.
Oh, dat schreeuwt hier echt heel hard.
Topnummer. Topnummer. Doei.
Ik zei alleen dat jij de ADHD'er bent.
Slaap lekker, Liz. Doei. Doei, je moet slapen. Je moet slapen.
En jij moet ook slapen.
Dat klopt. Doei. Doei.
Je moet je rug slapen.
Doei. Doei. Oké, doei. Slaap lekker, hè? Was gezellig.
Dus morgen weer.
Nee, morgen Kingdom Hearts.
Wat?
Morgen Kingdom Hearts.
Oh, die dag daarna?
Misschien wellicht, ja. Kan. Zou kunnen.
Misschien, zegt hij ook.
Misschien.
Oh.
Doei!
Jouw Discord kut hem de hele tijd eruit.
Doei!
Nou, dat helpt ook niet echt beter.
Oh. Doei! Oh. Doei! Was dat beter?
Ja, nu heb ik gehoorbeschadiging door jou.
Nou, fijne avond. Slaap lekker. Doei.
Doei.
Welkom hier dan. Ik heb je naam ergens gezien, Smokey, maar weet niet waarvan. Heb je geadd kunnen zien? Ja, tuurlijk. Oh, Race. Speel je ook, of Smokey, speel je ook Premiere? By any chance? Even een notitietje. Smokey, Monkey. Enemy Race. Oh, wacht even. Twitch. Enemy Race. Enemy Race. Nice. Want we spelen ook Premiere en we moeten wel mensen hebben. Zit wel in een groep, maar die is niet vol. Nou, we hebben exact hetzelfde probleem. We hebben exact hetzelfde probleem. Dus ja. De mensen zijn of het zat van Valorant. Dus ze spelen geen Valorant meer. Dus zijn ze uit het team gegaan. Er was er eentje die heeft zijn eigen team opgericht. Er is er eentje die wilde gewoon geen Premiere meer spelen. Dus ja. Toen waren we eens met 3 minder. En ja, het was een beetje minder. Oh, en nog iemand ging eruit stappen omdat hij veel te hoog in een rank was voor het team. Wat ook logisch is. Dus ja. Let me join. Ja. Oeh. Nice. Je gaf wel goede vibes. Dus dat is wel nice. Invited. Oh. Kom even in Discord. Dan gooi ik je meteen even in de groep. Dan heb je even... Normaal doe ik een hele selectieprocedure ding. Met eerst even samenspelen. Vibe checken. Maar je weet al hoe Premiere werkt en zo. Dus dat is mooi. En als je er even over wil kletsen hoe en wat en hoe wij ermee omgaan. Dat mag altijd. Kunnen we even iets inplannen. Spreken we elkaar even. I'm down. En dan gooi ik je even in de group chat. Cool. Guys, that's it for tonight. Sorry, that's it for tonight. That is it for tonight. Tomorrow is going to be Master of Mondays.
Master of Mondays, may your heart be your guiding key.
Also, if you haven't checked my socials yet, please do be my socials. So yeah, tell them to go check it out. Yeah. What else should I say? No. It was fun. It was fun tonight, guys. Thank you guys for all hopping in. I appreciate you guys a lot. It's so fun when you guys are actually like in the chat with me. Like it feels like I got energy for all the people that are here, which is amazing. So thank you so much for that. And it's really kind of you guys just join in. It's really fun. Really enjoy it. So thank you. Thank you. Love you guys for that. That's awesome. Ben in de Discord. Let's go. Let's go. Huh? Ik heb geen notificatie gehad. Raar. Monkey. Smokey, Monkey. Ik ga even toevoegen, ja? Oh ja, kies nog even een lion of een panda rol. Maar dat is meer voor de rest van de... Je ziet niet al heel Discord als je geen oranje of grijze naam hebt. Hello. Hello, Mirion. Hoe is hij? Kiest een... ben in de Discord, man. Man zegt iedereen die hierin zit, speelt mee. Hij vergeet dat ik extra ben. Je speelt gewoon mee. Je speelt gewoon mee. Als extra. Wat is er mis mee? Ja, we hebben nog steeds... Wat? Je speelt mee als extra? Hij heeft geen keuze. Oké, so... om volledig te zijn, Umbreon heeft zich opgegeven als extra. Oké, als reservebankje. We hebben alleen 5 mensen. Dus het is gewoon kijken wie kan. En ja, als je niet kan, dan kan je niet. Zo simpel is het. Het is gewoon wat het is. En loop je je niet schuldig te voelen, dan is dat een bankje. Dus een bankzitter. Ja. Dus. Panda, waag het. Maar waarom zou ik het niet wagen? Dat is meer de vraag. Wat zou ervoor moeten zorgen om het niet te laten wagen? Dat is een beetje het ding. Maar het is zo leuk. Het is zo leuk. Hoe voelt het nou om aan de andere kant te zijn, Umbreon? Hoe voelt het nu om aan de andere kant te zijn? Van het gesprek. Even kijken hoe je kunnen raiden. Who are we gonna be raiding, guys? Who are we gonna be raiding? Who are we gonna be raiding? Die gaan we raiden. Zullen we Job raiden? We zitten met zoveel Nederlanders hier. We might just raid out to Job. Jouw keuze? Let's raid. Let's raid. Oh my god. All this text is just hovering over my face here.
My social.
There's Zooey in my socials. Already did that. Already did that. Already did that. There. Better. Yeah, better. Top. Oké. Raids. Dit is Job. Nu volledig in Discord. Big hearts. Big hearts. Ik zal je toevoegen in de groep. En dan gaan we lekker een polletje maken. En kijken of we deze week kunnen spelen. Donderdags, zaterdags, zondags. We zitten ook met andere mensen die Engels spreken en zo. Dus zeg het hard. Top. Job. Top. Right. Alles oké, Emmy? Alles oké? Alles oké? Je zou ook aan het stoppen of zo. Hij heeft echt dikke muziek aan. Oké, guys, watch out because there's like super loud music in that other stream. Okay, just saying. Ik heb hier correct de naam, dus ja. Ik heb geen idee wat hier gebeurt. I'll be here tomorrow again, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Kingdom Hearts is gonna be here. I'm gonna be streaming on probably from 9 o'clock somewhere. My days are a bit different, weird and such. I cannot really stream on time anymore, so I'm sorry about that. But eventually I'll be there. So tomorrow we'll be playing Kingdom Hearts. See you then. So for now, UD ranked, no! But for now, there's nothing left to say. There's nothing I can say. But Pendolio.